input here. I was listening to all the three presentations. When we analyze poetry and try to discuss about meaningful poetry, maybe there is a question among the audience that says that are all love poems excellent poems? Are there poems which are not love poems excellent poems? Now, how do you really go and define which is an excellent poem there? Do they drive the meaning and depth of emotions like any other type of poem? Do love poems drive the meaning and the depth like any other poems that we have read? While judging love poems, two kinds of estimations can be avoided by the scholars, as they are nothing but fallacies. One of them is called historical estimates, and the other one is called personal estimates. I'll give examples from Odia literature. A historical estimate of an author means the circumstances in which the author writes. For example, very famous poet of Odia, Baladev Rath, this is called Kavi Surya Baladev Rath, was often found in the brothels, prostitutes' places, but wrote some of the most expressive devotional songs in Odia literature. Upendra Bhanja, which is called Kavi Shamrat, the best poet that you can have, who was a king and wrote Vaidehi Sa Vilas, Vaidehi Sa Vilas is about Vaidehi, stayed in a temple compound but wrote extreme erotic and sensual poems in Odia literature. While doing personal estimation, personal affinities, likings, and circumstances may influence forming an opinion which is incorrect, as such estimates can be avoided, and the intrinsic value of a poetic work should not be judged by historical and personal estimations. So let's not go stick into those two principles which are being taught in literature there. There is a method which Arnold suggested called touchstone method. Touchstone method is because in this method, one has to keep the great master's work and their expressions in mind to judge the new poetic work. Many of us, we do that. No? The lines of great writers are used as touchstones. This method helps in finding out the greatness and faults as well as to find out high poetic quality. For example, Sachi Rautrai, one of the very famous poet of Oriya literature, or Mayadhar Mansingh, the great love poet of Orissa, and Ramakant Rath, the living legend in poetry. They have used touchstone methods in their poetry methods which are there. But Matthew Arnold also coined a term called the grand style. In the grand style, is a rhetoric notable for its use of figurative language and for its ability to evoke emotions. I could sense some amount of that grand style in Maithili literature. It is mostly used in longer speeches and poetic format and can be used to influence an audience reader around a particular belief or ideology. If you take up love as a belief or an ideology, you can blend it and make a longer poem out of it. Some of the old writers in Odia literature, Dr. Mayadhar Mansingh's love poems in Dhupa and Hemasasya, Guru Prasad Mahanti and Girija Baliyar Singh's poems are highly stylized with metaphors and similes. Subsequent poets like Pratibha Satpathy, he referred about his work, both his Sabari and Tumo Pain Thare Sabu Thare, and Rajendra Kishore Panda, sir's good friend Rajendra Kishore Panda, in Bairagi Brahmana and Nijopain Nanabaya, have used the personification method through the characters of Sabari in the poem here, and Rajendra Kishore Panda's famous character Sudapa, who was reflected in all his poems. This trend, of course, started with Vanalata Sen, Jivanananda Das in Bengali literature. Sachi Rautare brought it as Balaka Samyan. The grand style achieved this popularity with Ramakant Rath's Sri Radha. In Sri Radha, the poet has personified her as not just a woman. Sri Radha has been referred a couple of times. It is not just a woman who is in love with Krishna, but rather brings in all women who are in love. And it's an interesting poetry which is written by a man, but he brings all women together into the epitome of love. Let me read a couple of his lines. Come, take half of the remainder of my life, but fill every moment of the half that is mine with your infatuation. Was the bargain unfair? That's the question she's making. Then love me with a single moment and take away the rest of my life. Love me with a single moment and take away the rest of my life. But like the sky, fill the whole space above that moment. No, not like the sky, come closer and become the cloud over my past, present, and future, so that when I touched myself, I would touch the monsoon of your body. Remember Pablo's lines when I started today's session. I would touch the monsoon of your body. Your sighs would breathe, the gales fueled by the despair of a distant ocean. And when I smile and touch myself, the gale would cease. My lifetime, unconcerned with its nearing date, would it never ever renew its pilgrimage to the early years of your youth? Pilgrimage to your youth? You would exist as a mass of blue, because Krishna is blue, carved by my command, or as the blue total for all my known, partly known, and unknown desires. So the surrender is known, unknown, and also partly desires that he has got. Odia poetry's development can be classified into different periods. I would like to not take much time in this part. But the best part has been Jayadev's Gita Govinda. That love that a man can ever offer to any woman. The extreme case is in few lines of Jayadev's Gita Govinda. Smara Garala Vadhanam Mama Srisi Mandanam Dehi Pada Pallava Mudaram Jayati Mai Daruno Madana Kadananolo Haratuto Upahila Vikram Priye Charusile. Let me interpret it a couple of lines in English. O softly spoken one, your feet defeat the beauty of a land lotus and increase the luster of my heart. Just order me to color those feet with my footlag. That's the biggest surrender that you can do. That go down to your head, your beloved, and say that Dehi Pada Pallava Mudaram. Bring your Pada